Hello, Hare Krishna. My name is Jvalamukhi Dasi, and this is video number 16 in the J Files series of my video blog, My Hoo-Hoo and the Destiny of the Universe, the Golden Age, the Great Sinister Movement, and the Firewalk of a Hare Krishna Kid. Quote from Srila Prabhupada's books. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 8, Text 10. By Prahlad Maharaj, the 5-year-old child saint. Translation. In former times there were many fools like you, he's speaking to his father, the demon, who did not conquer the 6 enemies that steal away the wealth of the body. These fools were very proud, thinking, I have conquered all enemies in all 10 directions. But if a person is victorious over the 6 enemies, and is equipoised toward all living beings, for him there are no enemies. Enemies are merely imagined by one's ignorance. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this material world, everyone thinks that he has conquered his enemies, not understanding that his enemies are his uncontrolled mind and 5 senses. Mana sastrani indriyani prakristani karshati. Bhagavad Gita 5:15-7. In this material world, everyone has become a servant of the senses. Originally, everyone is a servant of Krishna, but in ignorance one forgets this, and thus one is engaged in the service of Maya illusion through lusty desires, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and jealousy. Everyone is actually dependent on the reactions of material laws, but still one thinks himself independent and thinks that he has conquered all directions. In conclusion, one who thinks that he has many enemies is an ignorant man, whereas one who is in Krishna consciousness knows that there are no enemies but those within oneself, the uncontrolled mind and senses. End quote. How can people aspiring to be devotees of God, like my father, pretender, hope to conquer their senses when they are so deeply in denial of what moves them? I only have the power to change myself, not my father, not anyone else. I was determined to cut the rope of action and reaction that led me to being born as his daughter. As Paramatma put it, Supersoul, I was born in a Rakshasa Vaishnava family, or translation, a man-eating demon / devotee of God family. Yes, the demon and the devotee are in one body in this time period that we live in. I wish sometimes that I could be like Sati, Lord Shiva's wife, who self-immolated her body out of disgust that it was born from the body of her father, Daksha, who was an offender. He was so ignorant that he offended the great Lord Shiva. Interestingly, my name, my initiated name, given to me is Jvalamukhi Devi Dasi. It is a name for the goddess Durga, as well as that of Lord Nrsimhadev. In goddess Durga's incarnation as Sati, she self-immolated her contaminated body, or the way she considered it was contaminated was because it had connection to her offensive father. Lord Shiva carried the burnt body of his wife through the airways in his arms. Her body fell to the earth in 9 different places. Where her tongue fell, a flame sprang from the earth and has been burning ever since. That has been for the last few million years. Invaders to India disbelieved this tale and tried in many ways to douse the flame, unsuccessfully. In their newfound respect for the goddess, they constructed a temple to her. This is called the Temple of Jvalamukhi, located in Himachal Pradesh, India. The ever-burning flame worshipped as her deity still goes on daily. Gift number 6. Letting go and setting boundaries. I had physical symptoms building up, so I knew there were more memories to get at. I am not one of those that go to the pharmacy for symptom management. I wanted the root out and am willing to dive in deep to get it. Closing my eyes and going to the sacred heart chamber with breath and deep intention, I observed my kshetra, my field, my body. At first, I became aware of a red and black snake-like personality in my abdomen. I asked him to leave in the name of God, and then 2 others left as well. With these 2, quote, gatekeepers gone, the memory underneath was of a past life abortion, lots of blood, and very deep sadness. Then came the memories that I didn't want to see. I was being raped by my father once again, arms held down, crying in wails and throat-aching sobs. And he didn't care. He was not home. He was possessed by something, someone, utterly absorbed in his sick pleasure, not seeing me at all. There was that smell, and I wanted to die. I also wanted to kill him, to really see his blood flow. It was then that I decided, what the hell am I worried about upsetting this person for? He so grievously hurt me, causing far-reaching dysfunction and physical disease in my life, and I am done protecting him. Done, done, done! Exclamation points. Notably, I also released an energy called self-punishment that looked all spiky and hooked into my physical cells. It was the only one that did some hissing on the way out. I am getting better at not letting these foreign energies use my vocal cords or move my limbs upon their discovery. However, sometimes they are too strong or catch me by surprise. Guilt, the energy of, was asked to leave as well. It's interesting, when you are abused, the emotions of the abuser will also reside in your body. So when you clear an energy pattern, and everything is energy, so you're going to be also clearing their energy patterns, so because they were literally injected into you. So when you clear, you say, I give no more power in my life to the energy of guilt, mine or theirs, because that has to lift out. Because when you take on their energy, it's stored in you and then continues that cycle. My body was going numb, tingling all over. Then I entered into a fitful state and my body went into a fetal position. After that, I just lay there like a newborn, timeless, and with a feeling of security before the trauma ever took place. The session came to a natural close and I lay there for a while in the soft tachyon cocoon. Even though the memory of being raped was there, and the covering layers were there as well, I was able to more easily release both of them. I was not as moved by them. I have more witness now. Even though I felt like I was going to pieces, Mahaprabhu assured me that I was doing great and making progress. I am apparently learning how to be the soul and how to let go. Realization. I thought of the kids pitching a huge fit when they have to change their clothes and they don't want to. It is like the layers that really are not us, that we are clinging to so desperately, unnecessarily causing ourselves so much pain. I came to an understanding of what I call covering layers, or boogeymen, beasties. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the soul is covered by degrees of lust. He explains that there are 3 modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. They can be compared to the primary colors of yellow, red, and blue. Infinite colors and combinations can be made with these 3 modes represented by the colors. Chapter 3 from the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, text 38. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, similarly, the living entity is covered by different degrees of this lust. Purport. There are 3 degrees of covering of the living entity by which his pure consciousness is obscured. This covering is but lust under different manifestations, like smoke in the fire, dust on the mirror, and the womb about the embryo. When lust is compared to smoke, it is understood that the fire of the living spark can be a little perceived. In other words, when the living entity exhibits his Krishna consciousness slightly, he may be likened to the fire covered by smoke. Although fire is necessary where there is smoke, there is no overt manifestation of fire in the early stage. This stage is like the beginning of Krishna consciousness. The dust on the mirror refers to a cleansing process of the mirror of the mind by so many spiritual methods. The best process is to chant the holy name of the Lord. The embryo covered by the womb is an analogy illustrating a helpless position, for the child in the womb is so helpless that he cannot even move. This stage of living condition can be compared to that of the trees. The trees are also living entities, but they have been put in such a condition of life by such a great exhibition of lust that they are almost void of all consciousness. The covered mirror is compared to the birds and beasts, and the smoke-covered fire is compared to the human being. In the form of a human being, the living entity may revive a little Krishna consciousness, and if he makes further development, the fire of spiritual life can be kindled in the human form of life. By careful handling of the smoke in the fire can be made to blaze. Therefore, the human form of life is a chance for the living entity to escape the entanglement of material existence. In the human form of life, one can conquer the enemy of lust by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under able guidance. End quote. The word God is a title like Mr. President. The person who is the president also has a name, a family, activities, home, etc. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known by unlimited names, primarily Krishna, the all-attractive one. God is the source of all energy. Energy comes from the energetic source. There is no sunshine without the sun. When sunshine fills a room, we say, the sun is in the room. The energy and the source are not different and are different at the same time. Achincha abeda beda tattva. If the sun were actually in the room, it would be burnt to ashes along with the whole earth planet. Obviously, the sun is not directly in the room, but we say like that. The sun is in the room. God is a person, more than just a white light or energy, or the all-popular impersonal term, the universe. The latter are his energies, but he is the source. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Quote, Bhagavad Gita introduction. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama, is above both impersonal Brahman and the partial realization of Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Satchidananda Vigraha. The Brahma Samhita begins in this way. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Govinda, Krishna, is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause, and he is the very form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Impersonal Brahman realization is the realization of his Sat, eternity feature. Paramatma realization is the realization of Sat Chit, eternal knowledge. But realization of the personality of Godhead Krishna is realization of the transcendental features of Sat, Chit, and Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss, in complete Vigraha form. End quote. Just like him, everything in his creation is also personal, even the modes of material nature. They appear as subtle personalities that cover the soul according to the degree of envy and according to the desire to be covered that the living entity maintains consciously or subconsciously. When the soul desires differently, wants to become purified, to go back home, then the soul needs to face the modes, the personified modes, or choices that he or she has made thus far, choosing differently, and decommit from identifying with the temporary body and this temporary world. This looks like becoming aware of the modes, one is clothed in, and having that conversation, making new choices one at a time. If one doesn't even know how he is covered and in what he is covered, how can he be free? And if we live in our heads, are we not even in our bodies, but disassociated somewhere? How can we hear the conversations that run us? Again, before one can become Krishna conscious or God conscious, one has to become conscious. Putting a bunch of religion and rituals on top of such unconsciousness simply makes war with each other. And because in that condition, we are all identifying falsely with duality. In our bodily concept of life, we are easily misled by unscrupulous persons claiming to have the commodity on spirituality because they are adept at speaking or singing or have charisma, like celebrities, for God, of course. We put God's name on our version of ignorance. We parade it around on our high horse and denigrate or attack others in His name, believing ourselves to be righteous. Looking back, there were countless times when I wanted to blast my perpetrators, to tell it like it is. But Krishna in my heart restrained me. Sure, I fumed inside and vented to whomever would listen, but more than being right, I wanted to be effective. You can be right or you can be happy. Not usually both. Not until you are all the way out of duality. No small task. You have to be transcendentally situated. However much I grumbled about it, I really did want happiness. I wanted freedom. I wanted real victory, not just another round in the material world, one more life. Woohoo! Now you are on top. Next time I'll get you back, and so on. The ad nauseum struggle for supremacy in this material world of suffering. If I had to become a pure devotee of Krishna to get my revenge, well, by golly, I'd do it. Funny, huh? My carrot for purification or self-realization at this time was revenge. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of a 5-year-old boy, Dhruva Maharaj, is there with a similar motivation. Oh well, whatever works, right? Quote, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 8. Translation and purport. Being insulted by sharp words spoken by the co-wife of the king, even in his presence, Prince Dhruva, though only a boy, took to severe penances in the forest. And the Lord, being satisfied by his prayer, awarded him the Dhruva planet, which is worshipped by great sages, being upward and downward, both upward and downward. Krishna, or God consciousness, begins with being conscious. That is why it is not automatic to just perform some religious activity and assume that one will be saved. Hey guys, this is our newest family member. This is Lassie. She's come to keep me company. Where did I leave off? Krishna, our God consciousness, begins with being conscious. That is why it is not automatic to just perform some religious activity and assume that one will be saved. If the heart is not consciously uncovered from the layers of dust covering it, how will one be able to see oneself? What to speak of God? That is why the scriptures say that one can chant or pray for millions and millions of lifetimes and still not attain the desired result if one is not properly situated in consciousness. As I go into being heart-centered, begging the Lord who resides there, please make me aware of any coverings that are interfering with my becoming useful in your service. That's been one of my constant and continues to be one of my constant prayers. Please make me useful in your service. And any way that I am bound, any way that I am hiding from myself, denying my own pain, give me the courage to face it, because I want to face it. And that's what it means to be a spiritual warrior day in and day out. Face your greatest enemies, the anger, the lust, the illusion, the madness, all of the 6 coverings of the soul: lust, anger, illusion. Oh, I forgot. Anyways, it's late. Excuse me. You can look them up. Please make me aware of any coverings that are interfering with my becoming useful in your service. Whenever I do this, I unfailingly encounter the personified energies of passion and ignorance, our main coverings. There's very few people who are bound by the mode of goodness, at least in this age. I haven't met any from the modes of goodness yet. The dark coverings are typically red and black looking and hiss and growl like the nasty qualities, like the entities that they are. I see them from what they are. I ask them a few questions. How and when did you come into my energy field for the first time? Answer me now in the name of God. They are compelled when Krishna's name is vibrated, conquering the lower self with the higher self. What are you still hooked into? AKA my own avoidance patterns. I breathe and observe my inner kshetra, my field of the body, subtle and gross. I do so with witness, detachment. I wait for the knowingness to arise of its own accord. I do not push. All clarity comes in Krishna's time. We cannot demand, but if we are willing, almost always the Lord in our heart gives us exactly what we need in order to grow, heal, and expel the unwanted things in our hearts, our anarthas. For me, this is usually some form of self-punishment. I thank the energies or entities for their service in bringing me to this place in my evolution. You are free to go now. I no longer require your service. Why? How do I have the power to do that? Because I am ready to face the music, no matter what it looks or feels like to me. To me, freedom is priceless, and pain is temporary. I am an eternal spiritual soul. Sat, Chit, Ananda, eternality, knowledge, and bliss. I am an eternal person, just like my Father in heaven is. As my teacher likes to say, the whole material sojourn appears to be less than a moment in the face of eternity. Yesterday evening, without planning it, I drafted a letter to my father. Hello, Dad. I have not wanted to talk much with you as of recently, because while doing my healing work, memories surfaced of being molested and raped by you. I held it together for the sake of my brother's graduation, but now I do not want any contact with you. I feel sick to my stomach when I hear your voice on the phone, and I am fearful of picking it up for this reason. Please do not call me anymore. I need my space to do my healing. My intention is to process all of these emotions and hopefully be in a place where I will be able to forgive you. Not because I want a further relationship with you, but so that I will be at peace finally and able to leave this world. I am also aware that you were most likely abused in the same way by Granddaddy, and that he did this to your sister and who knows who else. Since these memories surfaced for me, lots and lots of things about our family seem to finally make a lot of sense. It is not the anger, out of control lust, or sickness even, that destroys a family. It is the denial. In denial, there is no problem to fix, just festering wounds where repeated traumas take place, while everyone looks the other way. They just can't deal, so therefore it does not exist. Yeah, lots of things make sense now. I know that you have changed much over the years, and I admire you, and mostly your new wife, for that. However, you are still accountable, even by law, for what you did. The best thing I can come up with is to tell you that I am holding you accountable for choosing to be the instrument of my own karma. Nothing happens by chance, but I will be damned if I allow this denial and pattern of sickness to even slightly enter the future generations. I am taking serious personal inventory. I am also officially done being a therapist or confidant to you. I will not be in charge of taking care of your feelings anymore, ever. If you would like some references for getting help for yourself to deal with this, I'm sure you can figure it out. That is, if you are brave enough to face yourself, if you really want to talk to somebody about it. You can talk to Mom about it. Funny, when I told my siblings about and her about it, they said something to the effect of, I always wondered about that, and I was afraid of that. Do not call your sons or your daughter. Call a therapist. Call the police. Good luck. When and if I decide to talk to you again, I will contact you. Don't wait for it. Please have the decency not to contact me. I need my space. Thanks for your role in making absolutely sure I know that this world is hell. Sincerely. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Then, without hesitation, I hit the send button. I felt very good. My younger brother was sitting and reading over my shoulder, quietly. He hugged me and told me how much he loved me, that he was proud of me. As was expected, Dad tried to call this morning, but did not speak when Mom answered the phone. Typical. He sent a copy of the email I sent him to my siblings and asked Mom what was happening with our daughter. As usual, he is the victim here, scrambling for one of us to come and help him understand. In other words, enable his denial. My husband is being like a rock of support for me. Dad tries to take shelter of whoever will feel sorry for him and enable him. Now he is officially blaming Mom and calling her mother crazy, schizophrenic. Yeah, I wonder what happened in that family. Mahaprabhu said surely that my father will find support from the ISKCON community for the false memory syndrome. Strange bedfellows. This is a made-up thing for lawyers to exonerate clients who are in active denial and cover-up, but have deep pockets to create phony half-truth science to support their sickness. I wonder if I should file charges. The statute of limitations is still open. He is only hurting himself. If he really wants to stay here birth after birth, so be it. I am leaving. I will in no way support any kind of denial and duplicity. Informational. For a history on the false memory syndrome foundation, you can look it up and read there. But be careful. Don't really use Google, because Google is all about false memory. Use alternate search engines. The entire society that we live in is child molesters, rapists, incestuous demons eating and killing their own babies. And they have methods to do it. So the false memory thing is a complete farce. But yet people who want to stay in denial or cover their tracks make it try to sound credible, even though it's not. And of course, the demons within ISKCON jump on that bandwagon. So I have just a few more things here, and I'm going to end with one more song and call this video done. Martin has been researching the fallacy of the false memory syndrome and other topics. Dad is responding to my letter in the standard way. If he were actually innocent, there would be quite a different response. We spent the whole day more or less discussing the topic. It was interesting that after coming to a rather critical conclusion about my father, we both hurt our feet simultaneously in different ways in the kitchen. I hit mine on the open dishwasher door, and he sliced his toe on the refrigerator grill. It came to my mind in that instant that even though my father has committed heinous offenses against me, my mother, and siblings in the past, and continues to be in utter selfish denial about it, nevertheless, he is still some kind of a devotee and under Krishna's control. He is under Krishna's judgment, not mine. I have my lessons. He has it. He has his. Let it be. For now, I am content to utterly disengage and just thrive and be Krishna conscious and happy. My goal was to separate myself from the abuse and all of the attached patterns of behavior, not to argue or prove myself. There is no need. Krishna knows. It would be sad if my father maintains this denial for the rest of his life. I will be sorry for the kids, and I would like to move past this, but I will under no circumstances tolerate even a hint of this sickness anymore. I am grateful that I have such a loving family to support me. I pray for my peers whose lives are so deeply affected by their own versions of abuse and denial. And I do feel awesome today. I feel like I just put down 1,000,000 pounds. The ball is in his court now, where it should have been all along. I am a free person. I feel empowered and happy, even considered being joyful again. This is the process of healing. Clear it and surrender, then clear more, surrender more, heal more, do it again. This is my latest expression, inspired by my great desire to lay it down, meaning all the baggage of the hurt and the anger and the fear and the generational patterns and the helplessness, etc., and to be a firm wall of protection for the future generations from being polluted with these sick patterns. And before I begin the song, the devotees had asked Srila Prabhupada, will our children be pure devotees? Will this next generation, the second generation, be pure devotees? And Srila Prabhupada's answer was very telling. He said, no, because they have to associate with you. He knew who he was dealing with. So I see the second generation, my generation, that our duty is to be like the filters, so that all of the garbage that came in with the first generation doesn't filter down into the third generation. And we can't do that if we're in denial about what actually happened. So there it goes. I really can't wait to record my album. I'm looking forward to getting it done really soon, so I can actually share with you all of the melodies and the power and the rhythm and the beat that came with these. And I'm afraid to just sing them to you because the words are more important and I don't want them to get lost. So I'll just speak it right now as a poem, and then you can look for my album hopefully sooner than later. This is called Lay It Down. I'm gonna lay this burden down. Feels like I shed 10 million pounds as I cast this robe aside that kept me safe, then kept me tied. I'm gonna lay this burden down. And the pain I feel inside, an expert surgeon's knife that cut away the ropes of attachments born of time. I'm gonna lay this burden down. Feels like I shed 10 million pounds as I cast this robe aside that once kept me safe, then kept me tied. As the saints and demons leave, I thank them humbly, their lessons gratefully received. Now I'm strong enough to stand alone. And I'm gonna lay this burden down, like I shed 10 million pounds, as I cast this robe aside that kept me safe, then kept me tied. The strength to face the truth of all that happened in my youth comes unerringly by living in eternity, and I'll be damned if I let it come through, won't let it come through, won't let it come through, won't let it come through, because I'm gonna lay this burden down, like I shed 10 million pounds as I cast this robe aside that kept me safe, then kept me tied. And in humility, I accept accountability of all that's come to pass to rectify my stance, and I won't let it come through, I won't let it come through, I won't let it come through, because I'm gonna lay this burden down. With a little pleasure and a lot of pain, I turn to you again, and in humility, I accept accountability. I'm gonna lay this burden down. Now the Lord does not create accidents of fate, and all that's come to be has been done so perfectly. And I'm gonna lay this burden down, like I shed 10 million pounds as I cast this robe aside that kept me safe, then kept me tied. And in humility, I accept accountability of all that's come to pass to rectify my stance, and I won't let it come through, won't let it come through, won't let it come through, won't let it come through. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to my beautiful teacher who's held my hand and showed me how to lay it down and be the soul. and separate the poison from the nectar. Separate His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, from all the nonsense that was done in His name. All glories to her service. Thank you for watching. Hare Krishna.